So let's talk about your book.
My book is actually on these sorts of topics.
Exactly.
The book is Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. You may have heard of it before.
I think I have.
Has
Someone
anyone
super chatted it.
Yeah.
Did they? One or two?
Yeah,
people?
Yeah, a couple of
Possibly
people I
mentioned
think
it once
super chatted
I
us.
do. I have to thank. I truly need to thank the viewers of this show. You seriously, if this book makes the list, if the New York Times is forced to put this on the list, which I don't think they would do it willingly, but if they were forced, if this book changes the conversation, it is because of the insane viewers of this show who have forced you.
Well, they're fans of you.
I know, it's wonderful.
But I'll say it a million times. Reading the Super Chats was fun. I want people to buy your book. I want people to buy Michael Malice's book, Andy No's book, Ben Shapiro books, James O'Keefe books. I want it so that when you go to Amazon.com and you click book, the top 10 are from anti-establishment, anti-woke, or just maybe voices you haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Because for a long period, what were the top books? Like White Fragility.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so what happens is regular people, this is part of the information where you're trying to explain to people your ideas and win hearts and win minds.
You know what was a big one was Becoming Michelle Obama, which I don't know if you've seen the conspiracy theory.
Oh,
There's this
yeah.
conspiracy
geez.
theory of talking about transgenderism. And I just thought, if you're trying to tamp down that conspiracy theory, don't title your book Becoming Michelle Obama. That's not a good idea. Anyway,
you got to
that was
ignore
enough.
the weird stuff, to be honest. That one, I
Yeah,
know
that one
people,
took me a little
Pretty,
too long.
it's pretty out
dumb.
there.
I know-
I do not subscribe.
I know a guy who's like, dude, I swear I watch these videos. I'm like,
I know
stop,
that guy, too.
stop.
First of all, stop watching the videos.
Yeah.
I
Right,
don't know
right.
why you're looking at those videos.
I want to say
What-
I love the cover.
Thank
I
you.
love the art. I don't know who did that.
This was hotly debated. We went back and forth because some people believed that to sell the book, we needed one of these kind of shticky covers where I'm like winking or something, and it's really like whatever. But I just thought, no. I actually am making an argument here. I don't ever intend to write a book again. It's simply too much work. I'm just only writing blank books from now on.
That's good.
Going back
Yeah.
to my original
Yes.
magnum opus. But I do want to make this argument here because I just feel like, kind of the central point of the book is whatever we have done to push back against wokeism has advanced wokeism. Isn't that weird? It's just anything, obviously when you give into it, it advances it, but even when we push back really hard against it, still it advances it. And it's because of, Tim, actually, a lot of what you've been saying tonight, which is we just don't have any standards and we're not willing to articulate them. But it's not enough to point that out, because you actually then have to articulate what the standard is, and that is not always popular.
This is why years ago I began, a lot of people would describe the leftists as intersectionalists or feminists,
Yeah.
and I started calling them identitarians.
Yeah,
Because identitarian is typically used by white identitarians. Now, identitarianism just means like identity and government. So it is policy predicated upon your identity. Of course, the white identitarians really loved using it, and I said that's the exact same thing as the critical race theory stuff. And so I'm going to, as someone who doesn't like either, I'll refer to them all under the same name. I had a conversation with a friend who's like a very prominent activist, very woke, and I just always referred to them as an identitarian. It puts them in the same camp as the white nationalists. They hate it, but it's true.
Do you have to get more I like this point because you have described what the conservatives keep messing up, which is they keep using the left's own language.
It's just before you don't forget that, I just want to make the simplified point. If you have a red battlefield and a blue battlefield, and you bring everyone onto the red battlefield and say red is the worst choice, it's the only thing that people are experiencing and the only thing they'll talk about.
Yeah.
They won't even have an experience of blue.
Yeah.
You need to bring people to your battlefield and make the left come there to argue with you, so that instead of learning about critical race theory, they're learning about classical liberalism or conservative values and making the left argue against those.
Preferably even the more conservative ones.
Right.
But it raises this identity question because you're not saying we can't have any kind of identity. Obviously, everybody's got an identity. I got my name, I got my religion, I got my town, I got my state, I got my country. That's an identity. So you're calling out in particular, it would seem, this racial identity, maybe this kind of crazy gender identity. But it does leave this question open for you, which is what we were talking about earlier in the show. Who are we as a country, and who am I personally? And I've got an old school Catholic answer for you, my friends.
Thank you.
I've got, finally, here it is, okay? In the Bible, Moses asks God, who are you? What does God say?
I am.
I am. I am who I am. I am who I am, the essence of being. And when you identify in that, it's very easy to know who you are. When you turn away from that, well, what am I? I'm black. I'm a black lesbian, Muslim, ableist, cis, pan, trans, damn,
White
Van
Catholic
Dam,
male.
white Catholic. I'm Van Halen. Yeah, like it doesn't, and it's really pathetic. It's what kids do when they try on different identities. But in order to recover that sense of a national identity, you have to say certain things that are exclusive claims. This is who we are. And if we say this is who we are, it's like a nation with a border. If we say this is the nation, then it means outside the nation, then that's not the nation. If this identity in America, and you might say it's the classical liberal idea, or it's this, or it's that, or the other thing, but if we say this is what it is, then what we are saying is if you don't go along with that, you are not an American. You are excluded, you are ostracized, you might be outright censored. Are we willing to make that kind of a claim?
One of the challenges that we've been talking about for a while is that in wartime, some of our greatest leaders did horrifying things.
Yeah.
We talk about Abraham Lincoln, and we're so happy the North won, but the dude suspended habeas corpus. There's the rumor that he tried to get a Supreme Court justice arrested. Yeah. He did a lot of really bad things. He threatened the press.
Were they bad? Threatening the press. I mean, these days, I think you should win the Nobel Peace Prize for that. But
but it's doing what has to be done to win. And if we saw that happening today, if like Donald Trump, when he threatens the press, the media shrieks and howls. If in order to win a war, our civil rights were curtailed, we would be furious 50 to 100 years on, and it was the right thing to do.
Sure, and obviously there's a double standard because you've got the Obama administration hounding the press and harassing them, and they obviously face no consequences for that. So yes, we've become much more, but I guess this gets to my point. We've become much more individualistic. We've become much more jealous about our individual, some might say licentious autonomy, and we've totally lost a sense of what brings us together. A republic refers to the things we have in common, right? The public things that we've got together. So if the left has lost that because they've become insanely individualistic on the social side, basically they want to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with or whatever, right? And if the conservatives have become insanely individualistic on, for a long time, the economic side, but on certain aspects of cherished civil liberties, and nobody is paying any attention to what we have to do together, what you have to sacrifice, what you have to suppress, what you have to tamp down in order to have a country together, then obviously the country is going to fizzle and balkanize.
Well, this is why, right, balkanization is a best way to describe it.
You're talking about the Balkan Peninsula, which is like the Greek peninsula north of Greece, where it was like just shattered into like Croatia and all these different little countries.
Yeah, and continues to shatter.
And I think people have mentioned peaceful divorce, but there have been many individuals for years have been calling for, more extremists calling for balkanization of the U.S.
Yeah, and name a peaceful national divorce that has ever taken place in history. It's very rare.
The Roman Republic split. The Roman Empire split into the Eastern and Western Empire. Of course, then that caused wars for years, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Think about what's happening in the U.S. And as you mentioned, conservatives are too individualistic.
Yeah.
So they're not banding together the way the left is. The left is overly collectivist, but the scary thing is they have this insane moral ideology. And so then you have the libertarians, and they're in their space. So what happens? Well, a bunch of states start saying, Texas, for instance, we're going to do what we want to do. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden, when he comes out and speaks, is clearly not talking to Texas or Florida. Yeah. When he was saying earlier in the year, like, we got to double down on masks and we got to put more restrictions in place. Texas and Florida were open. So who was he talking to? Clearly not them. And that's what's going to keep happening. It's not so much that conservatives are necessarily too individualistic. It's just that the tribe of conservatives is made up of a bunch of smaller tribes.
Yes, but they have no reason to come together. I mean, there was a moment, it was called fusionism. This was the post-World War II conservative movement where Bill Buckley and Frank Meyer and others brought together the libertarians and the traditionalists and the Warhawk Dems, and later on the neoconservatives to come and fight against the Soviet Union. Soviet Union goes away. What exactly is uniting the conservatives with the libertarians? They have completely different accounts of human nature. They usually want rather different things as a matter of policy. When you consider the other aspects, the neoconservatives and others, they all broke apart during 2016. Like, what is the coalition?
Taxation, maybe?
Anti-woke.
Yeah, and I hope anti-woke is the answer, but I fear, Ian, you're right. I think the only thing they ever agree on is cut taxes. I like tax cuts, but
I think anti-woke is a massive component of it, and it's probably because I'm biased. Because
I hope you're right. Yeah.
I'm not the most like lower the taxes kind of individual. Yeah. I was talking to Bannon the other day. I agree with him. He says raise the taxes on the rich. Yeah. The one problem I said is giving government money. I don't know if that's the answer to the problems, but
we just need to eat the rich. It's amazing how the politics have really realigned here. Yeah.
But you know, everyone's always trying to find what the dividing line is. I don't think there's one, but there are many. The media lies. Do you believe CNN or do you disbelieve? Do you think they're lying? Well, I think that is a core component. The matrix or out of the matrix could be the easiest way to describe it. And then I also think woke versus anti-woke is a very core aspect of that as well, because you turn on MSNBC and they say Republicans don't want to teach your children about slavery, which is lies.
Insane, right?
Absolute lies.
Yeah.
And so do you believe the lies or do you are you seeing reality? And that's why it's funny. That's why they say it's red-pilled.
But hasn't I fear the balkanization has already happened, and we're just realizing it. You saw the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, is now flying the progress flag at U.S. embassies around the world. This thing was invented like 5 minutes ago, and it's like the gay flag with some other racial things and transgender or something on it. Well, but that is the new flag of the United States. That is rather, I'll be more specific, that is the flag of the liberal empire. So obviously the State Department, the steward of the liberal empire, is going to fly it all around the world. The American flag makes claims about America. The pride flag or even the BLM flag makes universal claims about everywhere on earth. And when you look at Twitter accounts, when you look at people's homes even, conservatives will fly the American flag. Libs will fly the pride flag.
Right.
Those are two different flags, ostensibly for the same country, but it's really now two countries kind of living together.
And these major corporations will change their avatars to the pride flag unless they're the Saudi Arabian branch. That's true.
It's
though.
Amazing. Do they not have? They can't edit their Twitter, I guess, over in Qatar, maybe.
No, strange.
Well, I actually think it might be illegal. No joke.
Yeah.
So they literally can't do it.
Sure. And I wonder. I mean, there's such a pushback against the kind of craziness of the LGBT, transing the kids, drag queen story hour, but the elites and the elite institutions are all pushing this. I mean, that is the new national identity. So if you're giving an account of what America is, I fear that the pride flag, as a matter of our actual governing institutions, is more representative.
I'll tell you my issue with the embassies flying flags other than the United States.
Yeah.
We are the United States. That is the country. That is the Constitution. It is the Declaration of Independence. You don't have to like the country. You're free to not like it. But you are in America. You are governed by the American government with a Social Security card and all that stuff. That flag is of your country.
But the American government is flying the pride flag.
And that's where you see that they're flying the flag of 12. It's between 8 and 12% of the country. It is not the majority of the left. It is not the majority of moderates. It is absolutely not basically any of the conservatives, very, very few. When you look at, this was several years ago, but the Hidden Tribes study that came out as YouGov data.
I actually talk about hidden tribes in this book.
8%. Oh, nice. 8% of the U.S. identifies as progressive.
Yeah.
They're flying the flag of a fringe minority.
Yeah.
The American flag represents every American citizen. The pride flag, you're allowed to like it. I got no issue, but it certainly does not represent 92% of the country.
No, so of course that's the case, but they want to, through the politics and the culture, to transform that. And they just got a new Independence Day. We're coming up on July 4th, also known as Independence Day, but now we have a new Independence Day. It's actually in the name of the bill, the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. This is a local tradition from Galveston when some random dude showed up and mentioned that Lincoln had freed the slaves years earlier, that slaves actually weren't legally freed until the 13th Amendment, which was ratified months after that. But this random date was contrived almost out of whole cloth by the left to become the new National Independence Day, and the Republicans voted for it.
Well, I take issue if the idea is to subvert July 4th.
Yeah,
but
I think
actually,
that was the idea.
I don't take issue with Juneteenth. I'm down for it. If we have Labor Day, you know what I mean, like a holiday commemorating people who work.
I guess this is my problem, because I see your point. Sure, it's it's a good thing to free the slaves, so sure.
I mean, we honor those who shed blood, a lot of blood and treasure, as
John
it was
Brown,
said by
what's up?
Ulysses S. Grant said blood and treasure was shed to keep them together and to end this.
We already have a holiday for that. That is, Memorial Day was set up after the assassination of Lincoln, specifically to honor the dead of the Civil War and all that war represented. I've noticed you mentioned Labor Day, all of our holidays they have to do with gratitude. All of them. Labor Day, it's the ordinary American worker. Veterans Day, obviously. Memorial Day, Christmas. Even New Year's Day, we sing about Auld Lang Syne. You know, we'll have a cup of kindness yet.
What about 4th of July?
4th of July, obviously, is gratitude to our country and our founding fathers and the country they gave us. But Juneteenth, I find it bereft of gratitude. You hear it in the arguments during the debate to ratify Juneteenth. All of these congressmen saying this is about the injustice, to never forget the evils of this country. And even Barack Obama, when he started mentioning Juneteenth, and he said last year that Juneteenth is not about a victory. Juneteenth is about the ever-long march toward progress. I think that's, by the way, why they just picked this random event when some dude showed up in Texas. It's not commemorating anything real. It's just commemorating a middle period in between two other events, because it's not about the victory. It's to remind you of the evils we've come from and how far we have to go.
But maybe they just shouldn't frame it that way. Maybe it should be framed as it was the marshals showed up in Galveston, where some Texans were holding slaves long after the Emancipation Proclamation, and these were the last individuals to finally receive their freedom.
But it still wasn't properly abolished until the 13th Amendment.
I recognize that. I like the idea of more freedom, the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my issue with it is they attached the red salute to it. Yeah. Now that is a very serious problem.
Not just the red salute. It was the red salute in black. So it was also the black nationalist hand, and also and I couldn't tell this on Twitter, but I think it
colors. Yeah.
Were the knuckles gay?
I think
no. It was. It was red, green, and white, I think.
The sort of black
Italy,
nationalist.
Right?
Is that what it is?
That's Italian.
Or Italy.
Yeah, or Italy, whichever.
You know, the Italians always have a racial middle ground anyway.
There you go.
I like the idea of celebrating, the end of slavery.
Yeah, no, we all do.
It desperately needs a branding makeover already.
But wasn't, I mean,
like a new name.
But look at it this way:
Abolition Day or something.
No, I think it's fine. I think Juneteenth is fine. The
issue the only holiday named after a day or a month. It's so weird.
Is it June 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th? That's very confusing. Juneteenth?
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the critical race theorists they hate everything.
But they like Juneteenth.
No. As you mentioned, it was not a day of celebration or gratitude.
Like
it was to commemorate our anger. I'm like, I'm not about that. I think it should be a day to celebrate our victory over the amoral, horrifying institution of slavery.
But we agree on that. I guess it kind of gets back to what we were saying earlier about arguing about what the government should be in theory or what it is in practice. I agree with you. There could be a wonderful day to celebrate the end of slavery, and sort of Memorial Day is that, though we don't really think of it that way anymore. But the fact is, the people who pushed for Juneteenth and wrote the name of the bill and made the debates for it and are celebrating it and are putting the black fist with the either gay or black power colors on the knuckles, all of those guys view it and are presenting it as this resent-filled anti-American day of reckoning. And I think, would that we could perceive it another way, but I just don't know.
And you're right about Memorial Day. There was I didn't look at the story too much, but someone's mic got cut off. He was like a veteran because he mentioned Memorial Day was set up because of the Civil War and had to do with slavery. And then they were like, no, we don't want to have this.
He's out. Yeah.
But it was true. Memorial Day was set up following what you said was
after the assassination of Lincoln. Yeah, I mean, very, very shortly thereafter.
So I do think it's important to this is tough, right? It's as I often describe it, how many grains of sand make a heap. It might not be a big deal to many people. They're like, Juneteenth is a great holiday. It celebrates the end of slavery. And then you mentioned Memorial Day does that.
Yeah.
And those who shed blood to end it.
Well,
real quick, it's not that any one of these arguments, debates, or news stories is the most important. But when you stack up 10,000 of them, you've now have a dramatic shift in your culture and ultimately how people live, their freedoms, and whether or not things are better or worse.
It's death by 1,000 cuts, right? Or all the sand on it. But because I agree with all the people who are shrugging their shoulders and saying, oh man, who cares? I don't, it's another day off. Frankly, it's not a day off for us, right? It's a day off for some federal employees, but okay, fine. They work so hard, don't they?
Yeah.
But the who cares argument has a simple answer. The left cares. That's why they fought tooth and nail to get this thing through. It's the same as the pronouns. Who cares about the pronouns? I wouldn't care about the pronouns. except that the left really cares about the pronouns because they know that in these very seemingly trivial things, you carry whole premises. In the case of the pronouns, you carry the premise that human nature has nothing to do with our body and a man can be a woman. In the case of Juneteenth, you carry the premise that the original Independence Day was a fraud, it was wicked, and the country is now in Juneteenth, the country's evil, and we need to reckon with it.
Did you see there was one jurisdiction that canceled their July 4th parade over COVID, but they're having they had a Juneteenth celebration?
Of course. I mean, the 4th of July parade, that's unnecessary, and frankly, it's even worse than unnecessary. But Juneteenth, that's our nation's most sacred feast.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.